大家好，我是 Shang Guan Jie Wen, your friendly neighborhood Run. I'm here to talk to you about foreign aid. You know, a lot is said about the United States and about China. In the United States, China is not very well understood, and I think that is mostly ignorance. I think a lot of people probably couldn't, if you showed them Chinese writing and Korean writing and Japanese writing, a lot of Americans wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And yet somehow a lot of them watch a little bit of CNN and suddenly they think they're great foreign policy experts. Well, I watch CNN sometimes and they can't even pronounce the leader of China's name. So please don't get your information from these MSM mainstream media sources, because most of the information that they give you seems like second or third hand. They don't know what they're talking about. They can't pronounce the names of places. They can't pronounce the names of people. So I'm here to give you the lowdown. What is China doing? What does it represent internationally? And why is it important? And why are we talking about this? What's really important to note is that a lot of people will statistically say that the United States gives more foreign aid. Actually, that's not accurate. If you consider military aid foreign aid, then yeah, the United States is sure good at giving money to countries and then expecting and requiring them to spend that money on military hardware from the United States. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of foreign aid that builds schools and feeds people, gives people water, medicine, and things like that. And this is where China actually completely dwarfs the United States. We're going to talk about one example today of what I'm talking about. What is China internationally? So recently, January 15th, there was a volcano that exploded in the nation of Tonga, which is a Pacific island nation in the Pacific. A huge volcano went off. No one died, fortunately, but it did destroy housing, ruined communities, it displaced lots of people. And so what became of that? Well, China has good relationships with most of the countries around the world. It tries to have good relationships with all countries. China would love to have a good relationship with the United States. Most of the antagonism actually comes from the United States. But I'm off point. So Tonga, this huge volcano exploded. Immediately, China went into action. So China sent two naval vessels to Tonga carrying 1,400 metric tons of aid for the people of Tonga. And this came in the form of water and food and other things. Some of the things are prefab homes, plows, discs for plows, 200 sets of school desks and chairs, 100 walkie-talkies, 100 portable generators, 65 portable high-pressure water pumps, 50 tents, 30 electric saws, 20 brush cutters, 278 cartons of first aid packages, 100 cartons of medical protective masks, 50 cartons of disinfectants, 2,180 cartons of bottled mineral water, 1,667 cartons of biscuits, 1,667 instant noodles, 1,500 pieces of disaster relief kits, 550 tons of desalinated water, drinkable water. So this is the kind of aid that I'm talking about. And this is just one example. I want to come back around to this in my next episode and outline another example. But this example demonstrates the kind of aid that China gives to other countries. Now, China hasn't had a war in decades, about 4 decades, and is one of the most peaceful countries in the world. It's not like the United States, where it's sending military aid abroad and having war. The United States has, I don't know. You know, they only really show you on the mainstream media about what war is happening every 5 or 10 years that the United States is engaged in. But the United States is continuously engaged in wars and proxy wars around the world all the time. And China is not. China is sending aid to countries around the world, befriending people. One of the things that China does is called win-win diplomacy. I mean, what the United States often does, it describes as itself zero-sum game. But China says, okay, we want them to win, we want to win. How can we engage with other nations around the world where we both come out on top? And this is an advantageous trade for everyone. China goes into countries, develops them. Yeah, China comes out on top a little bit too. But nations around the world benefit from the aid and relations that they have with China. It's not too late for America to take a 180 and to change its image. The United States, if it spent if it took the Pentagon's budget and took 2/3 of that money and spent that on aid around the world, helping people, the United States would not have enemies. There would be no reason for the executives at Raytheon and Boeing and all these companies to keep making missiles and keep making profit off of the deaths and bombings of people around the world. Instead, the United States could befriend nations around the world by being a helpful benefactor for people around the world. The United States would be seen as the leader that everyone wished that the United States became in 1989. When the United States clearly was the only superpower in the world, the United States had a once-off opportunity to reshape the globe in a way that everyone became benefited from the United States' power. And instead, it went a military path, and it continued its wars around the world. China is showing the United States and other countries around the world that there's a different way. There's a way that we can all benefit, that we can have a peaceful world. I really want people in the United States to look at the military-industrial complex in the United States and begin to think about not closing it off. Obviously, the United States needs a national defense, but take a lot of that money and redirect it. Instead of building more tanks and F-35s to fall out of the sky, begin to help people, to help our brothers and sisters all over the world. And the United States will no longer be seen as the biggest threat to global security, which if you look at international surveys, that is how the United States is seen. The United States is typically seen as the greatest threat to world peace. And our wealthy oligarch, rich people in the United States could benefit from that too by producing goods like prefab homes and walkie-talkies, portable generators instead of bombs. We could shower them with goods and schools and education and medical aid. And we could actually make the United States into having a more positive image in the way that China has in a lot of other countries. Now, a lot of people in America are like, no, China is not so good. It has a bad image. Why? When I think of China, I think of a bad place. But that's only you. That's because the mainstream media in the United States of America, and in England, by the way, really warped and twisted your perception so much that you think that other countries are giving you disinformation. But in fact, the disinformation is so thick that you can't see through it. You can't get out of this swimming pool filled with the gelatinous goo of the disinformation. China is seen in the world as one of the greatest countries for peace and for prosperity. And it's because they're bringing goods and services and aid to people around the world. America, it's not too late. You can have that kind of image too. Let's stop making bombs and start helping people. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.